You know, there's nothing like cracking that cellophane and pulling that record out. It just smells great.
Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Non-stop hardcore energy.
I love the show, guys. You're awesome.
Unlike any other.
With your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bodfather.
Man, this stuff rocks.
The views and opinions of the guests do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of BODS Mayhem Hour, its staff, affiliates, or sponsors. Parental discretion is advised. Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour.
We are Sundrifter, and you are watching BODS Mayhem Hour.
Hey everybody, welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour. I'm your host, John the Bod, aka the Bodfather, and as always, I'm bringing you guys and gals awesome interviews. Today it's an honor and a huge privilege to welcome the band Sundrifter, and Sundrifter will release their long-awaited new full-length album entitled An Earlier Time on February 16th via Small Stone Recordings. Also, check out their single out right now, Begin Again. And we're going to be talking to the band. So how you guys doing? Welcome to the podcast.
How's it going? We're good. How are you?
Doing pretty good. Do you guys care to introduce yourselves, please?
Sure. I'm Craig, lead singer, guitar player.
I'm Pat. I play the drums.
I'm Paul, play bass.
All right, guys. How excited are you to release this new album entitled An Earlier Time via Small Stone Recordings? And did the album turn out exactly the way you guys wanted it to?
We are the most excited anyone has ever been in the history of the world. As soon as the word excited was created, that is where we are at to finally release this. We are so super pumped about it. We are very proud of this recording. We feel it is our best presentation so far. We are 2 thumbs up, cruising down the road, super duper, level 10, ready to go.
I think he said it all. Yeah.
Did the band add anything differently on this album than what fans are accustomed to hearing from Sundrifter?
I think you're going to hear a more matured sound.
It's a lot of the same ingredients cooked in a slightly different way.
Yeah. I think there's some connections to Visitations and older music, but I think it's more defined, more matured in a way.
A lot of big vocal sounds on this record. There's an ocean of Craig vocals that are constantly in motion. It's going to be great.
What led the track Begin Again to be that first song released off the album, guys? What was it about that said that needs to go out first before anything else that's on here?
It just sort of had a context for us having, not having the ability to finish the album because we got stopped by COVID, obviously, in the shutdown. And we just felt, that message of beginning again and starting anew really was sort of a great first step for us, to present what the rest of this record would be.
But how difficult was that for you guys to be like, look, we got to stop and just leave these songs sitting here because of COVID. And now we're in 2024 now.
Yep.
Old to you, but new to us.
Yeah. It's very different. It's very difficult. And it's like, you're an artist and you have friends and you're showing them the demos on your phone and you're like, oh my God, this is going to be great. We're so excited, but we're going to release it in 2 years after the shutdown and the tracking and the mixing and all those steps along the way. So I think for our band, it's just, we've just been want to share it and want to put it out in the world, but it just is kind of how that broke. But that's for me been super tricky, like trying to get friends and family kind of engaged and excited, but knowing in the back of your head it's still a ways away. But now it's here and we're very excited.
See, that's what I was thinking. Like when all this was going on, I was like, are we really going to see these bands release these albums? Because their head's going to be in a different time space when all this comes, gets done. Are they really going to want to put this out and just be like, no, we want something fresh and move on?
Yeah, it's a tricky process because we had drums tracked and recorded. So we had the songs, parts pretty well good, drums ready to go. Then literally the next day, state shutdown, world shutdown. So we still had a lot of, we had the parts there and we had the vision and we had Pat's drums, which was like obviously super, super critical. And then, long gap of time, very long gap. And then the world comes back, and I bang guitars out, you know, and now we've got guitars, and now we've got bass, and here we go with vocals. So it sort of was a huge snowball going down the hill, you know, once the world came back. I hope that explains it. Yeah, it's been crazy torture, but then crazy excitement.
Since this new single's out now, how's the fans' feedback been on the release of it? What are you guys seeing that's kind of fueled your guys' fire? Like, yeah, we waited and this was the right idea.
Yeah, I think some of the fan reactions and comments have been pretty awesome, and just some of the interviews we've been doing, a lot of positive feedback. And Scott at Small Stone Recordings, he has a lot of faith in us and has a lot of hopes for us. So, you know, it's sometimes when you feel like you're too close to the record, you start to doubt yourself, but then you start to put things out and see like, oh, this is going to be all right.
So has it like breathed new breath back into this band, basically? Has it revived you as musicians, though, to see this?
Absolutely. And I think, too, like, you know, we put everything on the back burner, kind of waiting for the right time. And then just the amount of, you know, we had to get back out there and play shows live again and make sure that these songs are live ready to go and just dusting off those cobwebs. But I think right now is a great time. I think live music is becoming more prevalent again, and bands are doing a lot more things, and we're holding on to our best work for the right time. So, and especially as us being a smaller band, you know, we're still fighting for our due, but I think this is now the right time.
Was there a track for the album that totally ended up sounding different than what it was intended to? Was there one that kept changing or no?
Final Chance, I think, maybe.
Yeah. I think sometimes the vocals at the end for me, I really, so in the writing process, I have, you know, melodies and where syllables and vocals are going to land, if that makes sense, like the rhythm of melodies. And then sort of the final lyrics, the final products of things, I generally leave to the in-studio performance and creativity. And, you know, you speak to a lot of artists, and there's a lot of different ways of going about tracking, and especially vocal performances. And so I used to be a little old school, so I'm a classically trained singer. You know, the three of us met in music school. I love pop and traditional things, so there's that sort of school of thought of, you want to go in the studio, have everything ready to go, and, you know, be as precise as you can, which is absolutely valid. For me, when I go into the studio, I have what I hope to accomplish, and then I like to take chances and try things and give a take that's maybe a different color or a different shade. So some of the performances, you know, on this record are per the moment of where I was in that space in the studio. And there's no way to hide it. I see the studio behind you with all the stuff and the buttons and this. You get a little more excited to record when you're in a creative space than you are when you're trying to write this in your room. But does that make sense? You know, it's different environments are going to bring different performances.
Was there any tracks that ended up on this new album that didn't end up on 2019 sophomore album Visitations?
No,
everything is pretty fresh.
Yep. I'm a little bit of a songwriting machine. It's a tortured artist thing. I hear songs all day. I come up with ideas all day. I have so many songs on a shelf at home you wouldn't even imagine, you know. Songs, I like to capture worlds and vibes and feelings. And I'm not always the best verbal communicator of emotions. And then 3 days later, I will have a song come through and everything makes sense. You know, sometimes I have a delayed response to things.
But for you doing that all the time, where do you say, okay, I don't want to go back down this path and write the same song I wrote 15 times or whatever? You know, I want to change. I don't want to be the same old status quo song. How do you break it down?
Yeah, it's really it's an interesting process. You know, I think I have a really vast understanding of music and the hit songs, and I have to self-check my own work sometimes, like, oh, wait a minute, I think this is just a version of this. Nope, let's go to the next song. So I'm very critical as I'm writing, like, is this someone else's song, or is this too close to this? And what's great about our band is that we have a real collaborative writing process. So, I'll come in, songs are about 30-ish% of the way, and then these guys are incredible, and they write their, you know, their own stamp on things, and there's an excitement to that process when everyone is contributing and has a voice, and we're all kind of going together. And you know, from talking to a lot of bands, like when a song's going and you know it's original and you know it's going, it just goes. The time you spend trying to fix a verse, or this chorus is too long, or what if it's in a different key, generally those fall apart in our band, you know. So it's definitely riding the lightning, riding the flow of the process. When it's, you know, we get a lot of questions sometimes about song titles, and it's like, boom, I have it, off we go. Sometimes you just got to go with the flow and the sort of the artistic mind that you're in, you know.
Man, you could be your own worst enemy and have a knockout song and change one thing and it fucks everything up. It's
100%. Yep. It's a tortured artist thing. You're in it. You're feeling great. You wake up the next day. You're like, well, what if we did this? So it's like, no. Like, it's fine. It's going to be fine. You know?
Yeah. Now, this is for each of you guys. Any track standing out more to you than any right now on this album? I know these are your babies. I understand that completely. But are there any songs sticking out for each of you possibly?
I guess I would go with Limitless. I think it just, the intro, obviously, the drum intro is kind of a fun thing to do. And just kind of, it was the first song that really kind of presented itself as like the next batch of new songs. So it really set the tone.
I'm trying to think in the context of the album and the listener's standpoint, instead of like myself as a listener, as opposed to a performer or a contributor to the process, you know, because there's songs that are fun to play, but they might not be the ones that are like, you know, you think they stick out in the context of consuming the music. Sure. Probably Begin Again. I think it's the right mix of everything we want to put into a song that we do. And then even from a performing standpoint, it's a pretty fun song to play too. But I think, you know, vocally, texturally, the general mood it evokes is more interesting than a lot of stuff we've done in the past.
For me, it's a song we have called Space Exploration at the end. And that song's, you know, about, you know, finding your own voice, finding where you belong and where you're truly happy. A lot of people make, you know, a lot of sacrifices each day to do what they think they need to be doing, but in their hearts they know they belong somewhere else, and they have a higher being to get to. So in Space Exploration, I have this soaring vocal, you know, where I belong, and it's just like chaos underneath. Pat is just crushing drums, and there's crushing bass, and we just have this soaring voice sort of above everything. And when we play that live, and when I hear it every single time, I'm just so proud that, you know, as a band, we're able to voice that feeling, hopefully for the listeners, of, you know, not being satisfied, not settling, and trying to find that place where we're all trying to get to.
Is the track listing placement important for your album or EP releases, guys?
Yeah, I would say so. I think it. Sometimes we have some battles over track order, but I think for this one, it kind of like laid itself. Especially considering for vinyl release and having the right amount of time for each side, and, you know, certain songs are longer than the others, and I think having like energy arc and keeping the listener on throughout the album, and kind of ordering it in a way that kind of presents itself as a story or some sort of longer format thing where, you know, it's not just one song, but it's about the full album.
I think the context of vinyl kind of lends itself to putting songs in an order that keeps your attention. I think if you don't consider that somebody had to flip a record to get a, you know, basically another starting track going and not lose your attention, it's a good point in a, you know, series of songs to have another, you know, hard hitter. So,
and this has got great cover art too, you know, and a lot of folks just solely buy an album for artwork, and I've done that, and it's paid off.
Yeah, and the art that we have, it's the same artist, Bronca Studio, as Visitations, and with Visitations we got a lot of compliments on the artwork, and having this being like a time capsule record, it kind of brings you back to an earlier time with that kind of same artist and similar vibe, but slightly different colors and themes.
You know what, man? If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Right.
What does each of you bring to this band that makes the chemistry work with a three-piece?
So it's a great question because we have very different musical tastes between the three of us. And so for me, you know, my background is pop. My favorite band is Nirvana. I love melodies and structure and song structure and performance. And I always tell the guys I'm like the very colorful peacock standing in the center of the room all the time. You know, epic, you know, spotlights and sort of thing. And so that's sort of my background, you know, traditional songwriting and melodies and choruses and things like that. And then Pat's is a little bit different, but has a little bit harder of a edge on things.
I think like my approach to the three-piece is playing like just really loud and and I think having big cymbals too, and like a certain wash on cymbals to fill the space of the three-piece, you know, and then just kind of like we all try to make room for each other in certain spaces and try to do that way. But
yeah, influence-wise, like I kind of listen to everything, and a lot of that isn't relevant to like what you bring to the table in a band like this. But there's simultaneously a lot of wiggle room in a power trio and a lot of feet to step on. You know, not literally. Like everybody's kind of exposed at any given time. So I like sitting back and just seeing what fits the moment of the song. Trying not to step out unless you have to. When you do, it's cool, but especially on the recordings, the guitars are pretty rich. There's a lot going on harmonically with the guitars and the vocals and everything. So, from a bass perspective, if it's you know a solid platform, if it's elevating what's going on above it, I think that's the most important thing to worry about. I think I do an okay job at it.
Like you should see when we're on a tour in the van and we're trying to figure out what to listen to in the van. There are three very different demands that want to come through that speaker, and it's something that you know it's very beneficial to us because we have three different perspectives, three very strong and capable voices. So it ends up being a product where when you come to our show, you know that I like my parts and Paul likes his and Pat has spent a ton of time getting his drums the way he likes it. You know, there's a ownership to our individual parts that definitely translates to the live show.
And with a three-piece, it's way easier for scheduling.
Way easier.
Even though it is difficult at times.
Now, the album was recorded and mixed by Dan Schwartz at Peura Productions. How was working with him on this, guys?
Loved it. Dan is a modern day wizard, like in a cloak and a hat, and his ability to navigate the Pro Tools and the tracks and to the ease of recording, especially for someone like me who comes into a session and just shoots lasers at you all day. Hey, let's do this. Let's overdub. Let's do a harmony here. I'm going 90 miles an hour. And his ability to cut and paste things and direct me through a session is unparalleled. It's like the most creative, fun experience ever. And then we leave, and a couple of days later, we're listening to mixes, and he's taking things further and harmonies, different places, and you know, directions. So the speed and the recording process in the moment is very, very quick and creative. So it's just been wonderful.
Yeah, kudos to these guys like that, man. These producers who have moved on from the 2-inch tape all the way up to now Pro Tools and I watched them go in and they add their tones and they add these little apps and stuff for guitars and drums. I'm like, holy shit! I don't want to mess up anything with that. I'll let him do it because I've watched it and it's very tedious to me. And I'm just like, nope, I'll podcast. That's all I'll do. Nope.
Right. So our records feature Peura Studios, and it's a massive room. It was an old church, or I forget what it was.
It was an old Masonic temple.
Old Masonic temple. So we get these enormous drum sounds out of this production, and then you know later on we're recording guitars and vocals and everything like that. So just having that foundation of well recorded drums is a huge key for us too.
And those places are haunted.
Yeah, 100%. Yep.
certain
big paranormal
etherical vibes.
All right, this is for each of you. Now, if you could write an album equivalent to your favorite band's album, which album would that be?
Easy all day long. In Utero by Nirvana. That is my all-time heart-shaped box. Just, I mean, that from front to start. You ever have an album where you've listened to it so much that you know the next song that's coming up next? Like you're just front to back, could just write that and record that all day long. That would be for me. What about you, Pat?
I would say probably Songs for the Deaf by Queens of the Stone Age.
Okay.
First thing that comes to mind is the first Wolfmother record. I think it was incredibly of the time. It's perfect, rock record. I think it's paced incredibly well. There's no piss tracks. They're all good. It starts and ends perfectly, in my opinion. I think that's the kind of mindset, again, like vinyl album front to back format that I like to try to bring to the table for what we produce.
Now, I know you guys have been doing this for a while, but what's been your most memorable show that Sundrifter has been a part of that you still can't believe that you were part of still this day, if that's happened so far?
I'd give a shout out to John Gist in Vegas. I thought playing Planet Desert Rock was pretty fun. We got to play at the same night as Red Fang, which was pretty fun. And a lot of the local shows are sometimes going to be pretty awesome. We play like a porch fest, and the crowds are pretty big, and just the street, you're playing in a driveway, and the whole street's filled with people. It's a lot of different shows with a lot of different cool things that have happened over the years.
I believe you didn't say Hampton Beach.
So yeah, we have a venue near us in New Hampshire called the Hampton Beach Casino Ballroom. That's like my personal dream to play there someday. That's kind of what we're trying to work up to. I will tell you, I'm going to second Pat on this, that our show in Vegas was literally my favorite show that has ever happened in the history of my life. Vegas is the most wonderful place in the whole world for someone like me, who is a guitar freak and a guitar addict. The Guitar Center in Las Vegas is the best guitar center in the whole world. Just the action and the pop of that city, just weirdos walking around everywhere. There's always something to look at. We go in, we load in, we crush the show. People are having a great time. I had a lot to drink. It was really fun. And people were buying me shots and stuff. It was just so wonderful. So that, yeah, getting out of and going across the country and just dropping into Vegas and playing a show was easily my favorite.
Yeah, it's probably the Vegas one. We met a lot of good folks over there, too. It's cool. Some guys we still keep in touch with online here and there. They're from all over the country. It's kind of the idea of the show, to bring in a lot of folks from all over the place. But Droids Attack, they're all really cool dudes. Still talk to them online here and there.
What stays in Vegas stays there, I guess.
Yep.
What's it mean to you guys when you're traveling out of your home state and you're playing these shows and you know that you're reaching out to these folks and they're singing your songs back to you in different states? I mean, like, how does that hit you to be like a little small band, but still reaching out to these people?
Yeah, I still get a little shocked when someone just says, "Hey, we saw that you were playing and we came." We're really humble in this band. We don't take anything for granted. We get so much fire and inspiration from a nice comment on YouTube or Facebook. Working with bands, it is a real grind. There's a lot of not fun things about being in a band, the travel, the this. And just coming to a show and say, "Hey, I heard it. I heard your album. I get it. I really get it. And I came to see you today." Just that much is very exciting for us.
Yeah, I think I remember kind of over the past summer, I had, a fan of ours, our friend Sean, like he's a drummer, and I look out and I see him like air drumming my parts, and it's kind of like, whoa, that's so funny, I find that pretty awesome.
All right, this is the last question for you guys. If you could be a member in an iconic band and play one of their legendary shows, what band would that be and what show would be possibly?
Oh, easy. For me, it's Michael Jackson's Super Bowl halftime show. Ooh. You shoot me right up from the stage like that, and I just do a thing like that. Now we're into MJ hits, prime 90s, all day long. You sign me up for that tomorrow.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's quite a few you can pick from. But Zeppelin played Royal Albert Hall in 1970, super early show. I think it was off the tail of the first, maybe even before Zeppelin 2 had come out. You know, they playing a bunch of blues tunes and stuff. It's way before their huge hit, but the live performance is just, I think, all of them with the most energy anybody in that band ever had. And it'd be a pretty wild place to be at that point in time, you know.
I think mine, I recently got into this concert footage over the pandemic, but Metallica in Seattle in 1989, my friend. Cliff or Jason Newsted with that, you know, just so good. Just everything about that show.
I'm glad to meet fellow Metallica fans out there because I've said this a million times, and I'll say this till I'm blue in my face. So they put me in the ground. Without Master of Puppets, I would not be sitting here today doing what I'm doing.
For whom the bell tolls.
Oh my God, dude! When you hear that song live, it hits you in a different retrospect. It's like, oh my God!
I saw them at the TD Garden in Boston, and it was them and Godsmack, and like the whole thing was like a fire pit. There was fire shooting out from. I just lost my mind. I just lost it. It's unbelievable.
I got to see them. I saw them on the Hardwired to Self-Destruct tour, and it was just them solely.
Oh.
And I was like, oh my! And I cried the first two songs because there's a whole backstory with that album with Master of Puppets, with my father and me and everything with his illness. So it felt like it was for me, like it's time to move on. Everything's okay now.
Don't you love that about songwriting? When
do.
You hear something from someone you've never met, and they sing a song, and it's like you're talking to your best friend that you've known your whole life. That is the most incredible thing about writing.
It's like that album, man, said everything I need to say, get all my anger out, and just take me away, and it was good.
Yep.
So, yeah. All right, folks, Sundrifter will release their long-awaited new full-length album entitled An Earlier Time on February 16th via Small Stone Recordings. You want to get out and pick this up. So, guys, how can folks stay in touch with you? Pick this album up, tour dates, everything under the name of Sundrifter. How can they do that?
You can find us on the social medias. You got YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, sundrifterband.com. We're playing some shows. We got one next week at Widowmaker in Braintree, Massachusetts, down on the South Shore of Mass. We have a release show coming up in Medford in March, March 23rd, Deep Cuts. We have a whole bunch more planned for April and May, but we'll be announcing all that very soon.
Everybody stick around. We got some great stuff coming up. You only hear these interviews right here on BODS Mayhem Hour. Please get out and check out our Facebook page. It has our podcast link and our YouTube link that you definitely want to subscribe to and give us a fair shot. Trust me, I know you'll dig it. And also check out Sundrifter. Pick up their new album that comes out February 16th via Small Stone Recordings. You won't be disappointed. Get this band a fair shot, guys. Come on, that's all I ask. So, guys, thank you so much for doing this interview, and I wish you guys nothing but the best of luck.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.